What's up, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's episode of Reptile News. Now, as I said on the previous show, that I'm going to start recording things a little bit differently around here on the day they come out. So that's why this is out a little bit later. And let's just jump into the news. Now, we're going to start off today in Georgia, where authorities have arrested a man for keeping venomous snakes. Oh, but you guessed it, he's not just keeping venomous snakes, he's keeping them illegally, not in a smart way. Now, the 28-year-old man was said to have been keeping several venomous snakes in his house, including gaboon vipers, right next to a baby crib. Now, I'll read some of the charges, and I'm going to read it right off my screen here so I can make sure I get the charges accurate, and I'll try to get the pronunciation accurate as well. Misdemeanor possession of wild animals and permits generally, gaboon vipers. Wild animals for which license is or permit are required, inherently dangerous or insurance required. Legislative declarations, ownership and custody of wildlife, possession of eastern box turtles without a permit, and reckless conduct causing harm to or endangering the bodily safety of another, which I would assume is the venomous snakes being kept next to the baby's crib. Now, in this case, they're saying that they did apprehend him. He was arrested, and they're searching for another man in the case, which is also wanted for illegally keeping venomous snakes. Now, I'm going to, generally speaking, try to keep my opinion a little bit to myself here. So, I mean, my personal beliefs, let's see here. I don't personally believe that any venomous animal should be kept within the same room, let alone right next to the sleeping quarters of a child. I don't really care how secure they're believed to be or locked up. I just don't believe that to be a good thing to do, A. And B, we've discussed snakes, reptiles in general, and laws on this channel quite a lot. In fact, almost every episode, and I think everybody understands right now that I am totally against the government being in our affairs. However, the government is in our affairs. So that being said, there's rules and regulations in place that we have to follow. I mean, regardless of whether we think they're right, wrong, or indifferent, or whatever, it is the law, and by knowingly not following the law, we make it harder for the people that are fighting to get rid of these laws and or to stop other laws. So this is just wrong all the way around. I don't like talking about stuff like this because it's somebody potentially from our community who's going to jail for breaking the law, but at the same time, they 9.99 times out of 10 they know they're breaking the law, and they just don't care about the law, and in my opinion don't care about the people trying to stop future laws. So there you have it. Now let's move on, and we're going to go to India from there, where it's just an amazing story, and there's far too many. I've said this a few times before, and I feel bad every time because I know I'm not giving you much, but there's so many scientific words in here, and it's such a big story that I'm not going to cover a whole lot of it, just a few tidbits. But 6 new species of gecko have been discovered in India. Now, they're saying that those 6 new species of bent-toed geckos, I guess the bent-toed geckos are the largest genus of gecko species in the world, with over 250 species belonging to it. And I just mentioned on a video, I've mentioned on several videos recently, that it's absolutely amazing how many new animals we're finding, or previously thought to be other animals, that we're realizing are actually different in 2018. Now, they are saying that the reason for finding a lot of these new species is because they're able to explore different bio hotspots that they haven't been able to explore before. So there's some amazing stuff coming out of India. I'm looking forward to following this story. And now we're going to move on to Florida, but more specifically about an invasive species which is currently found in Florida, and some new information which I want to research it a little bit more before I talk too much about it, but I figured what the hell, we're going to talk about it today and see what you guys think about it. And of course, if you guys follow the reptile news at all, whether it be through me or through anybody else, then you probably know what we're going to talk about, and that is the tegu. And I'm not quite, I mean, I guess it kind of changes things a little bit, but anyway, into the story. Phys.org reported that the tegus are able to regulate their body temperature up to 10 degrees centigrade above their surroundings, which generally speaking other reptiles cannot do. They depend on their surroundings to regulate their temperature, but apparently the tegus are able to do something like that. So apparently they have come into acquisition of the most complete gene sequence ever acquired, I guess if that's the way to say it, in a reptile, which is, after studying their DNA, they found 22,000 genes, and the gene sequence is approximately 2 billion DNA letters long. And I guess that's where they found this. And something that's really interesting that kind of jumps out here is, like I said, other reptiles rely on their surroundings to regulate their temperature, whereas this tegu is able to regulate at 10 degrees centigrade from its surroundings. And being the most complete sequence that they've ever had, are they going to use whatever process they use to achieve this to start looking at other reptiles that may have this ability as well? It's just I don't want to talk too much about it because it's stuff that's just way above my head, but it was pretty interesting reading about a lizard that is able to adjust its own temperature like that. And what makes this a little concerning is that particular lizard being an invasive species here in America. Now, there's been so much talk about the invasive species in Florida and how they won't move north because they rely on the warmer temperatures. They can't regulate their own body temperature. They can't just throw on a jacket and move up to New York or whatever. And 10 degrees centigrade, that's not a whole lot, so it's not like the tegu is going to move up to New York as well. But I guess what I'm getting at is it's the building blocks of something bigger. And while evolution takes millions, billions, hundreds of billions of years, it is the building blocks to something worse if handle can't get on it right now. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to think about and consider and discuss. So let me know in those comments down below what you think about this story or any of the ones we talked about today. And that, my friends, is going to be all your news for this Wednesday. If you'd like to read any more about these stories, those links are right down below here in the description. And as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other, and we'll see you Friday.